All right, so I've had some folks asking me, how do you teach the music to the students, like to beginners? How do you teach them literacy? Well, the first thing we do is we play we play everything without music. That is so critical. You know, when you think about a child doesn't learn how to read or speak with a thesaurus or a dictionary or a worksheet. They learn by mimicking and doing. And I think so much of that needs to be focused on in the first days. I think there's a reason they call it play music. So ask yourself, how much space are you giving kids to actually play the music, to physically put their fingers on it, to make the sounds, and to do the things that they need to do? I always give them that space. So I'm going to be honest, like the first, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks, we're not even reading music. I'm showing them where to put their fingers, how to manipulate it, how to press it, you know, getting them used and developing the dexterity and get over all the awkwardness that is, you know, the reed or the mouthpiece. We're just getting them to feel the music. So it's so important that they just get a feel for it. This is so important. All the things you got to do before you do what you do called reading the music. Then once they've mimicked, once they've played, once they feel it, then you get to a point where now you have muscle memory. And that muscle memory is so key because it goes back to feel it. You know, a lot of times kids can't correct the mistake because they have no idea if they're actually doing it right. So building that muscle memory is so key. Now, think about this because I know I just lost some folks that are listening to this right now. Think about language. If if you're trying to learn how to read, the first thing they tell you when you come to school is you can't even come to school unless you know how to say words. You have to know how to speak. After you know learn how to speak, then they go back and they connect the letters to what we do. But you don't lead with knowledge, you lead with being able to do. You learn with being able to do. And then after you learn how to do it, then you identify it. So first there's doing, and then there's identifying it. That's the key steps. So just to take it back, we start without music. We start off by mimicking, which is a form of playing. Okay. Then we develop the feeling of it. That feeling is going to create the muscle memory that we need. Okay. You can't separate. Music has to have feeling. Kids have to feel good about what they're doing. Kids have to, it's tactile. They have to be able to recognize it by how it sits under their fingers. And when I say fingers, I'm talking about all the fingerings of the instrument. So again, you got to imagine first days, we're just doing first notes, okay? Maybe even first note, okay? Maybe a concert F if you like to start that high. I know some people don't like to start their brass that high. Well, you start on whatever note you need to. You know, I do a thing now where I'm gonna be honest with you. I teach all the woodwinds 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter what the note is. I teach all the woodwinds 1, 2, 3. So if you're a flute, you're learning B. Okay. If you're a clarinet, you're learning E. If you're an alto sax, you're learning B. Now keep in mind, these two notes will match, but this one won't. But that's okay. They don't have to be in tune. Have you heard a beginning band in the first week of school? I mean, are we going to split hairs over the fact that we're not all on the same pitch? Why is this important? Because this points back to everybody being on the same field. Now watch this instructionally. I can now say, okay, everybody give me okay. And when I say okay, that means B on flute, E on clarinet, and B on alto saxophone. When I say give me 2 finger for flutes, I'm saying 2 finger A, clarinet 2 finger D, alto sax 2 finger A. And the cool thing is the flute and the alto sax notes will always match. 3-finger G for flute and alto sax, and 3-finger C for clarinet. We're only focusing on feeling. Now, when we come to the brass instruments, what that's going to do is, okay, trumpets going to be E, and then all low brass are going to be D, fourth position trombone, okay, tuba, first and second valve, right? Okay. You can start other instruments. I suggest if you have the autonomy, I would wait to start anything other than that. When it comes to beginners, unless you have a staff, like you got 5 or 6 people, I would recommend just starting flute, clarinet, alto sax, trumpet, trombone, and tuba. And if you don't have tuba, you can always transfer somebody over later. But this is what I do in order to teach the notes. Why am I focusing on this? Because once we have this, now the kids can focus on the reading of it. But it's really hard to focus on the reading when you're still trying to establish the feeling. So first, as I said a minute ago, is feeling. Then comes reading. So somebody said, well, how do you teach the reading of it? I'm glad you asked. The first thing I do is I don't use any notation. I only use letters. That's all I use. It's like a game. We're not going to introduce the staff. We're not going to do anything, just letters. Why? Because most kids, when you give them the staff, all they're going to do is write down the letters anyway. So don't even, if you can't beat them, join them. Don't even fight them. So then the next thing I'll do is, for example, if it's BAG and these are some woodwinds, say this is flute or saxophone, then the next thing I'll do is I'll reintroduce the same song, but then I will write a fingering chart underneath it. Okay? Okay? And yes, under each note, I will do that. I will write the fingering chart so the kids can see. And it almost like Pictionary. We'll do that for about a week, maybe even 2 weeks, depending on how they do. And of course, I do the same thing for the brass instruments, okay? But it's so important that they make connection between what they feel and the idea that they have to look at a picture and decipher information. It's the whole process of interpreting. Connection and interpretation. We want to be able to interpret it and we want to be able to connect it. So that's the next thing I do. So if I go back, this first thing, I'll be honest, it's like week 1. Week 1, it's okay. It may start slow, but how many bands have you gone to where in the spring kids still aren't reading? This is why I say take your time. First week, just work on feeling. Feeling. Week 2, we go from feeling to reading. Okay? And then week 3, now I introduce the notation. I'll introduce to them a shape called a whole note. I'll explain to them that I'm going to teach it to them wrong so that they get it right. For example, I will notate it as -5 from day one. And I will then make blocks 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will explain to them how this note is so long that it takes up 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't call it 1, 2, 3, 4 because that's confusing. Later on, I don't tell them this right now, but later on, if you had 4 quarter notes, that too could be 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to eliminate all confusion if possible. So what I do is any held out note, sustained note, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, now it's going to be 1, oo, e, or. 1, oo, e, or. Now somebody said, why 5? Well, I teach them that their foot goes down, foot comes up. I teach them every time a foot comes down that that's a number. This is 3. This is 4. But we're not finished with 4. And I explained to them, hey, if you went to school all the way to 12th grade, but you dropped out of school in March, wouldn't that be silly? And of course, the kid's like, that's silly. Why wouldn't you finish? And it's the same thing I teach them. You have to finish and go through the whole year, and then stop at what? 5. One, ooh, wee, or stop. If the foot's moving, one, ooh, wee, or silence. I also teach them that the beginning of a note is the start, the way we hold the note is the sustain, and the end is the stop. So we want to make the stop a silence. And I insist that we exercise absolute silence at the end of a note. When I have a half note, I teach it one, ooh, -3. Being able to make the silence is the key. When it's a quarter note, I teach it as 1, stop at 2. If we can introduce this from day 1, it helps it all make more sense. So now that's the introduction of a note. And I'll play that on mouthpiece. I'll play that as the first note, concert F, or a B, or whatever you decide. You always make sure you align it with what we're teaching here. And then the next part of it is this. I introduce every measure like a house. So if we're in 4/4, that house has 4 rooms. 1, 2, 3, 4. And their job, this is a terrible shoe, but pretend this is a shoe. Their job is to walk through the house. 1, that's another terrible shoe. 2, it's a third terrible shoe. 3, these are the awful shoes. And this is 4, that's my Ronald McDonald shoes. All right. Why am I teaching it that way? Because every room is a boom. Every boom is a beat. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Every beat is a feat. Making connection between what they feel and what they read. Getting them to that point where every time they start a song, 1 up, 2 up, 3 up, tap, 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 tap. Playing a game, making them stop on a particular tap and shouting out what number it is, making them aware. And then I go back and I teach them who lives in the house. Who lives in these houses called measures? Well, a whole note. Now the kids can conceptualize that the whole note, it's a diva. It takes up the whole house. 1, or -5. Then we have the half note. The half note takes up 2 rooms, and I do the arrows so that they can see the duration. 1, 3, or stop at 5, of course. And now the quarter notes, and now we love the quarter notes. Why? Because we can keep track of them with our feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're so easy to follow. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have them do this with mouthpieces. I alternate between mouthpiece and horn. I draw it on a smart board or on a dry erase board, and I make sure I point it out. And we play a game almost like Simon Says. They can only play to what I point to. So they have to follow me visually, da, 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 and their feet have to move. This is how I teach them how measures work. Then what we do is before any song, we say and then we play. We don't play anything without being able to say it. So I take what I call take 5 to help reinforce their ability to say what they intend to play. What's take 5? First one is say letter names. So I teach them, if you have a piece of music, say the letter names. B, A, G, B, A, G, 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 A, B, A, G, just for example. Then the next thing, number 2, is 2 things. It's say letters and move fingers. So it's going to look like this. B, A, G. They don't play the horn. They move the fingers. B, and I walk around the class and I assess if their fingers are in the right place. G, G. They're shouting it out. A. They're all saying different letters depending on what instrument they play, but that's okay because they're drafting off of one another. Now what'll happen is if a kid says the wrong letter, another kid will fix it. Then the next thing in number 3 is they have to count. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, rest, rest. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, rest, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, rest, rest. So they're getting all this. And then number 4, they sizzle pop. Now, sizzle pop simply means like air guitar. That lets me hear if they're resting in the right place. Off. Every song we go through this sequence. Why? Because I want to give them a system that they can use to effectively practice at home and participate in class. And then finally, 5 is what they want to do first, but they should do last, and that is play. But the crazy thing is by the time they play, they're going to sound better because they're not just going to play with confidence, they're going to play with competence. Their playing improves because their knowledge base is expanded. By the time they get to play, they will have shown that they can say the letter names. Even if they don't know the letter names, they're going to be sitting next to somebody that does know it, and they're going to get something out of it. Then they're going to say the letter names and move fingers. They're going to count. They're going to sizzle pop. Well, by the time they get there, they're already going to be more proficient than they would have been if they would have just played by trial and error. So this is what I do in the beginning to kind of help them. So again, week 1, we mimic, we play the first note. We just feel it. We develop the muscle memory, the balance that they need to hold the instruments up, all those different things, okay? We learn by doing and identifying. No notation, just pictures at most. And sometimes not even pictures. It's just, hey, just do this. It's martial law. It's not, we just tell them what to do. And then week 2, now we begin to put pictures in front of them. Fingering charts. So now they have the feeling, and that can translate to the reading, connection, and interpretation. Now, once we get that solid, now we can start introducing concept. Now we have concept of note, okay? And what we do is we teach them the whole note, but we always show them that what the minus is. We teach them the value, but we also teach them the cutoff point. So whole note stops at 5, half note stops at 3, quarter note stops at 2. Again, the whole idea is I'm going to teach it to you wrong so you get it right. So here's another wrong thing. I'm showing them a picture of a house because that's what we want to correlate with a measure. Showing them how you walk it through, how it's physical, how you need to feel it, and how each note takes up a certain amount, which is why whole note gets the word whole, because it takes up the whole house. Half note takes up half the house. Quarter note takes up a quarter, just like there's 4 quarters in a football game. And then now, here's our sight reading. It's our sight reading system. We say and we play. I call it take 5. When you see a new song that you don't know, all you got to do is break it down and go slow. Take 5 and watch it come alive. Take 5 and watch it come alive. First one is say the letter names. They say it together. No moving the fingers. Just focus on getting accuracy. Once we have accuracy with note names, now we say the letter names, and now we connect it to the moving of the fingers, making a connection between what we feel and what we see. Number 3, we count it. Now we want to be able to measure it. We want to be able to identify the duration. We want to be able to recognize we're setting the bar, setting the tone for being able to interpret it through our instrument. Then we sizzle pop. Now, why? Because we want to internalize all these things we said in our head as we pretend to play. And then finally, we do just that. We play. So I hope this helps. This kind of gives you a system, breakdown system of how to introduce the first notes and the reading of the first notes over, say, a 2 to 3 week period. Hope this helps. Find out more. MickeySmithJr.com. Always happy to share and serve.